analysis.
Yeah, so now we're live from Central London, from the Royal Automobile Club with Grandmasters Luke McShane and John Spielman, and assembled guests from the commentary room.
With West Hampstead's finest.
This is John, and John and Luke are both Oxford boys.
And both live in West Hampstead nowadays, which is even more important.
So yeah, just looking at board 8 here, which looks like it might be going in Oxford's favour. So rook takes h5 suggests itself, and then
there is Queen f7 as well.
Queen
f7, you can just go.
So Queen takes g6 runs into Queen takes Rook f1, Bishop c1. So how about Queen f7?
Well, just the really rude Bishop c1 makes black look ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
Bishop
totally
c1.
ridiculous.
Well, also, actually, just simply pawn takes rook is not a bad move.
Pawn takes rook also clears the back rank, doesn't it? Which is
exactly
gives you
I
some
think
look.
Pawn takes rook might be even stronger than Bishop c1.
It's just pointed out elsewhere in the room. Surely rook g7 is just a completely winning ending of pre-sub, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, exactly.
As long as you don't try to keep your pawn structure clean by playing Bishop d4 check and Bishop takes c3. loses for two reasons.
All right, so
that's completely
so
lost.
black is completely lost there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at a different game.
So it's Oxford 1 up, yeah.
No,
If that goes as expected.
That would be Oxford 1 up. Okay, so let's have a look at this one, which looks like it's going toward Cambridge. Although, no, actually, this one looks equal. So this is white has a knight and a pawn for a rook.
And
but
a very,
it's an
very
enormous,
big horse.
Enormous knight.
I would have thought white's better if anybody, wouldn't you, Lou?
Yeah, especially as the bishop on h6 is so.
I mean, you could try to play king f3, g4, g5, king g4, h5, pawn takes pawn, or something, I don't know.
And black doesn't have any entry squares on the c file.
And the knight and e6 control, so I think white's much better.
Yeah.
Except there's rook f5, is there?
Computer says this is equal.
Oh, there's rook f5 is going to be annoying at some
So
point.
why is that a problem? If rook f5, if I just go rook d2,
yeah.
what do you do now?
I don't know. Oh, rook takes d5. Is that give some chances?
White gives some chances to white. Rook c2.
Yeah, king f3.
King f3, rook takes b2, and then how about I just take on d6?
Yeah, this is very dirty, isn't it? But every time I go king f7 though, don't I?
This looks pretty terrible for black though, doesn't it?
It looks worse for black, yeah. I thought it was time to start trying to bail out.
Yeah, I think you'd be lucky to survive this though.
So do I.
Knight. I could even go knight d8 check and take on b7. Nah, this is terrible for black.
Okay.
But you might just go king f7 in this position and sort of maybe threaten to take on d5.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
I'll tell you what I might do is if you just go king f3.
Yeah.
Now you take on d5, but it's probably about equal.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I could do some acrobatics. I can go knight d8 check
If you want to.
but I don't think it makes a lot of difference. It's still about. Actually, if I get a chance to get king e4 in like this.
I've still got bishop f4 to defend at the moment. But you can maybe go bishop a3 and then g4. Well, let me go rook c8 now.
Rook c8.
Yeah. It's f5 check as well.
I was going to say, yeah, f5.
It's
So f5. There's a check on f6. So rook c2 is met by rook f6 here.
It is, yeah. And I'm worse again. Clearly. Problem here. I can maybe go d5 check and rook c2 actually. I'll probably have to.
Probably do, yeah. Oh, there's bishop c1 says an engine. I'm going to turn this engine off because
it's annoying, isn't it? Bloody things.
You want to turn it off?
Yeah, how do I turn that off?
We want to actually see what people are going to play rather than what they should play, don't we?
There we go. Right, got it. Thank you. Is the board in sync with what we're talking about, or if you see what I mean?
Well, you can, if you do analysis, then there's a move that will come in. You can just click on live to get back to the current position.
Right, but I mean, if we're moving the piece, I mean, if anybody's listening to the audio,
Yes.
but we're moving the pieces around, we're not going to say every move that we're moving. So it's,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it,
yeah.
is it the board
We're
is.
looking at
yeah.
the board as well. This is what's going on.
Yeah.
on
Gotcha.
So I think rook f5 and king f7 is the right thing to do, isn't it? You need to get on with it in this position.
Yeah.
I mean, you
So,
can't.
well, the engine is claiming that, or was claiming that black was sort of okay in this position, but
It may well
but-
decide otherwise in a minute.
yeah, exactly. All right, let's have a look at a different game.
No, not.
So,
You're having a fight with the software.
right. So this is interesting.
It is.
Why?
I thought
Well,
white.
white's better, isn't it?
I thought white was clearly better, but I wasn't sure it was that clear.
Yeah.
That
I mean, the
clean.
fact that you played G3 is a real problem.
But
or at least
obviously, if the pawn was in G2, it would be plus minus.
yes.
It would be a huge advantage for white. Yeah.
But the pawn being on G, it means that there's always going to be some sort of, there's always going to be some practical problem with getting mated on
Now, is it possible to go take a couple of times and then play Queen D3 maybe and try to play Knight G5?
the. Oh, that's sneaky.
Yeah, I think he might play C4 after Queen D3 and bring his rook
So-
into the game.
Takes.
I think he actually took the A problem.
Oh well. You mean that's happened, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is quite likely to.
Yeah.
to
I think you probably do play C4, don't you? You don't really want to. Maybe you can
well,
maybe you can get away with Rook B4, Knight G5, Rook F5.
rook
but you're-
b4. Yeah. What's wrong with that? I'll do that if I can.
Can I can't play Rook takes E6 there, can I? The
But
tactics do not work.
There we go. No engine. Oh, for goodness sake.
They are very insistent, the engines, aren't they?
That looks tricky, at least.
It does. I mean, I was hoping Rook E6 would work, but of course it does not.
It does not. Okay. And also, if the rook weren't on b4, you might have some prospect of going knight takes h7, but
Yeah.
it's not going to work here.
Yeah.
So that's not so straightforward.
It's not also straightforward. So we probably want to leave the rook on b8 out of play, don't we? So he's played b5, yeah?
Yeah. Well, and also, so yes. I mean, the other thing you'd think about is taking and pushing the a pawns.
Yeah. Indeed.
And that does that. Yes, that leads to rook out of play.
It does.
But
But maybe and in this case.
yes.
Also leaves c5 at least. This is much better, isn't it?
What about this?
Yeah.
Rook takes d7 and queen c6.
Well, Queen g5 is played, always.
Oh, queen g5, and that's going to be,
Well, I don't know, you can play Rook f7, it's not immediately.
well, you can, queen g5, rook f7, you
So-
can go,
I can take and play
You can-
f3, I can
well,
take
you
and
can-
play knight d6
yes,
if I'm
exactly.
desperate. I'm not desperate at all, I've probably got something
yeah,
better.
I think white's got 100 ways to win, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that bishop b7 is not going to...
No, because I've been trying to make that would work, but sadly. Yeah, I like this.
So what, does white have a threat?
Maybe h4 to support the knight, I don't know.
Okay, but I mean, if you were black, you know that you're in trouble, so you might
Play c4.
might play some, or even just some move like h6, just to
Yeah.
make it less likely you get mated.
Changes the ways you can get mated, really, doesn't it? But yeah, it makes it less likely, it's true. Okay, if you do that, I'd like to play Queen e3. I'd like to pretend I was playing a sort of sensible, normal chess.
Then I can chop the pawn off on a5.
Oh, you can. And
What if I start with rook a8? Because now the rook is clearly going to be better on the a8,
Yeah.
isn't it?
it is.
Actually, that's a bit annoying, isn't it?
That's not a bad move, certainly. irritating that I can't.
White could go a6 here. On the basis that
Yes, queen takes d7 is clearly better for white. Yeah.
this endgame is probably
This is disgusting.
rather bad for black.
Yeah, very bad.
And actually, black can have a go at folding it.
Queen e5. Right.
Knight c5 is going to run into a trick, and in this position, queen takes f2, and only black can. And the rook is going to drop off on d1.
It is. Yeah.
So queen e5 is a bit tricky here.
So queen e5.
But
So the
should
move
we-
I'd like
should
to play
we- should we
queen
just
e.
have a-
Well, probably this is good, isn't it?
So a couple of things have happened. So white took on b5 with a pawn, and then played queen g5, and black's hit back with rook f5.
Okay.
Well, queen e7 suggests itself because it
Presumably rook f7.
rook f7.
Presumably queen h4 then.
Aha. Queen h4, and that threatens knight g5.
So presumably your
So
man plays
h6.
h6 now.
And now I'm going to go. I want to go rook e6, but that doesn't work because after takes, rook d8 check, and rook f8 is going to stop any funny business. So
Another retreat you now. Not clear actually there's anything much going on, is there?
yeah, and black is preparing bishop b7. If white had all the time in the world, then g4 might be dangerous, but I
bishop
don't think,
b7 is okay, I think.
don't think it is.
Yeah, because the rook on f7 already. So I'm not sure this is particularly what white should have been doing.
Well, queen e7 might have been a stupid idea.
It might have been, but I don't really see why I play queen g5. I'm not quite. I think he's improved. Maybe you should play queen h4 now. I don't feel. Maybe queen e3 now.
Queen e3.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the rook is whichever way you look at it, the rook is not bad on f5.
No, I think it's better on f5.
Queen e3. Right, but this is. I mean, black can take on c4,
Yeah, I will take.
and then
Okay.
and then
I was going to play g4 next. No, I'm going to go all in a minute. Because it's not my pieces, obviously. If it was my pieces, I'd be terrified and whinging a lot. I think black's pretty okay.
yeah, I think black is okay.
Well, I think in practical, black has very good practical chances.
Yeah, although without, I mean, I wouldn't overstate the case. I think white is probably still better.
Oh, so do I. But I mean, I just think there's every chance of some huge accident occurring when you're not watching.
Okay, should we have a look at another one?
Yes.
We have a result here, and the 2 rooks and bishop and 20 pawns has finally overpowered the queen.
Only 19, I think, at the end.
Okay. So, this one looks interesting. What's going on here? So how did the last few moves? Let's just have a very quick look at the last few moves. So this was a sort of normal middle game where white is probably a tiny bit better because the g5 is a weakness, but apart from that, it's...
Well, I mean, black has a good position apart from the fact that white can
Yeah.
probably...
If the pawn were on g7, you might even prefer to be black.
You'd prefer to be black, wouldn't you? Yeah. So you could play
Um,
d5, and if rook c5, you'd have to get the exchange.
Yes.
Because otherwise you stick a rook in c4 and laugh.
Yes.
Once you stick a rook in c4, you're definitely laughing.
Okay. So queen a6 happens, and that threatens rook c4, and white uses the g5 pawn. And so far so normal. Black is doubled, and white is still attacking this pawn,
Yeah.
which is now becoming a real problem. And white has won a pawn, but black is really controlling the c file. So this looks really interesting, actually.
It does, doesn't it? It looks like an archetypical mess.
Okay. The move I want to play here is white is g6.
Me too.
So g6,
Pawn takes
pawn
pawn,
takes pawn, and then queen g4.
queen g4, queen d4 check, and then
just
something.
tuck the king away somewhere. There. that avoids any more checks. And now black does have knight f8, and also threatening queen h8.
Queen h8 check,
some.
yes indeed.
And so now, if white could play rook takes f8 and queen takes e6,
White can play bishop
h6
h6 here, Luke, which stops
bishop
queen
h6.
stops queen h8 in a very rude way.
That is a big deal, isn't
So
it?
that's winning for white, I think.
So how is it winning if I play rook c8?
I don't know, Mishka, but I just assumed something bad was going to happen.
I think you're right. Bishop takes f8, rook takes f8,
Queen checks, queen checks, king over.
well, queen, you better put the queen here, otherwise your rook drops off.
Oh right, okay.
Now
Now I've got to take an e6, and I'll.
etc.
Well, I'm certainly much better as white.
Yeah.
The game hasn't
There
actually finished.
it might.
Might end up as a queen ending, but not a very
Yeah.
good one.
In fact, a much better move for white here is queen takes e6, isn't it?
Is that
Because
even better?
that's going to win the whole look.
That's really unsporting.
However, black does have queen h8 check.
He does, yes. As noted by.
rook takes f8 instead of bishop.
Yes.
So rook takes f8,
Yeah, that wins, doesn't it?
rook takes
Right,
f8,
yeah.
and then what? Queen
Queen,
takes
queen g6 and bishop f8.
King h8, bishop takes
And,
f8.
and then you can't go queen e1 check.
You can go queen a1 check, but
Yeah,
then
it doesn't matter, as Daniel has pointed out. King h2, queen checks, king h3, and you stop, don't you?
queen c3, g3, and then black really does resign.
He really does.
Okay. So that was g6, and that looks really, really dangerous.
Well, we need to think about.
So g6,
Have to take it, yeah, I think.
have
eh?
to take it.
Queen g4 has to be played.
Queen g4 is crying out to be played, isn't it?
Presumably,
Maybe,
I mean, queen c1 is not going to be enough, is it? So,
no, especially as white can throw in a check before taking the queen.
yeah. So can we try queen d4 check first and see what happens?
Right, as we did.
And is there just not a move at all here? It doesn't look like there's a move.
I think we had a bit of chess blindness there. Queen takes e4, defends both pawns.
That's really rude, isn't it? Yeah. That is very good. Okay. Black is better.
Black is better, right, okay. So g6 and queen g4 doesn't work at all.
That's the claim, anyway.
Well, okay. How about queen h5 then?
You can probably just play check and queen g7, can't you? Is that all right?
Yeah. Queen takes d4. King h1, queen g7.
And I mean, bishop b2, at worst you can play.
You can play queen g6, can't you?
Yeah, you can also play e5 if you want to.
Yeah. Or e5.
Yeah.
Yes. It's still not.
No, it's not simple, but
It's not. Yes. It's
but-
not like. It's not obvious to me that black is
totally winning.
better, or
No, but black's not worse.
probably. Okay.
I
Well,
must-
so this is quite tricky for white.
it's a very,
uh,
very critical position, isn't it?
How about d5? Because the pawn is attacked, so we'll move it.
So how do we feel
White
about?
is still a pawn up.
Is white a pawn up?
White is a pawn up.
So if we played queen d4 check, we'd be worse, would we? Is that the claim?
I think so. Queen d4, queen takes d4, rook takes d4. White can even look at. Oh no, g6 is not very good because black is going to take on e4 at the end and catch
Yeah.
our e4.
That's the
So,
plan, yeah.
Uh,
There's also sort of.
well.
I mean, queen d4 is a bit panicky, but I am a person rather than a machine, so I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I could maybe have gone rook e4 first, actually. On a bit.
E5 might be a move. Yeah?
It might be, but I
Oh, no, then
can.
you
I'll
can
play
take
rook takes d5. Yeah, I was thinking about that as
Well,
well.
how about I'll take on e6 first,
And then play e5.
and then play e5.
That's a reasonable move, isn't it?
Pawn takes e5.
Yeah.
Then I can't quite see something like g6. I can't quite see that working. Here.
I can't make a big thing happen. I mean, I can imagine small things happening.
Well, I think white is a bit better in this endgame, but black may well be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Let's have a look at a different one. Okay, this is interesting. So black has, so from this middle game, black has successfully rounded up the pawn.
Oh right, well I guess black is better.
Good style. And black is a clear pawn, now 2 pawns up.
Well, black's winning then.
Um,
I'm in the first position. I just thought if white can play bishop b6, which he obviously can't now. There was a moment he had a knight on d4 and a bishop on b3, and I thought if you could play bishop b6, you might get a position.
right.
But once you don't, then the extra centre pawn is what you're playing for, isn't it? The beautiful
Yeah.
pawn on e6.
Yeah, this is, and also the
The weak-
important thing is that the bishop on b3 can't defend the pawn on d4.
Indeed, and if it's on c3, it's the most disgusting piece the world has ever known. But it does defend the
But
pawn.
it does defend the pawn.
Yeah. And if you have 2 bishops, it's completely different.
And then this knight on f6 just gently comes. White should take on d5 here, probably.
Did you ever see that there was a Karpov Korchnoi game? No, Korchnoi Karpov game, wasn't there? A World Championship game where he recaptured and n2 pulled at d4 and then Korchnoi played f4 and then very, very bad things indeed happened.
Oh, right, okay, well maybe you shouldn't take on d5.
I
On the
don't
other
know.
hand, not taking on d5 didn't work out very well.
No. Well, you need to play d5 and lose. You need to lose a pawn and mess his pawn structure up. It doesn't matter too much losing a pawn if he has an isolated d5 pawn. Well, it matters, but
Right.
you can play chess.
Yes.
But if you keep your pawn structure, then you just look stupid.
Yeah, unfortunately white gets the worst of all worlds this way, because then the pawn drops off and the knight is dominant,
Yeah, well, at this
and
stage.
b2 is forward as well.
So at this stage,
There's probably not much more fight to be had there. Okay,
who was
let's look at board
which
1.
game
here.
was that? That was board.
Okay, so some strange things have happened on board 1. So black was under some fairly unpleasant pressure here, but
Managed to get
John was advocating for attacking c5, and that's exactly what happened.
this. Yeah.
Pawn dropped off, and white sort of lost control of the position.
And
Black has given back the pawn,
in fact,
but
that's
actually, if anything, black is marginally better, but it's almost certainly equal.
yeah, black's fine here, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that looks like a draw. Black is going to play king f6 and knight c5,
He'll maybe
and
play.
probably take on e4.
Hmm.
Take on e4 if you want an immediate draw. Or play something else. All right. So that looks very drawish.
So it's going to be 4.5, 3.5 to somebody, isn't it?
Well, let's have another look at board 8, because that one looked like it might be.
Oh, actually, it might be.
Oh my goodness, all kinds of things have happened.
Black's done well, actually, hasn't he? Well, I mean, maybe black's completely lost, but at least black is fighting.
She is. She is. That looked.
Except that actually, if it's white's moving that position, white can force the queens on.
Dragon's a very tricky opening.
Is there really nothing better in the middle of that?
I think there probably was.
So you can just go queen f7, queen e6, can't you?
Yeah, and that's
And
game
that would be a
over.
very
So,
sensible thing.
yes, that's the way you wrap up
That's the way to do
position
it.
like this.
Yes.
Queen e6,
King b8.
king b8, queen g8, or queen d7, and the queens come off. And
No,
white
but
has-
after king b8, queen g8, you can play queen c8 and continue the game.
Yes.
Sort of. I mean,
yes,
you're
but
not-
the queens come off either way, which is.
and then you play c4 at the end. And then we believe that the extra bishop
Yes.
will...
Yes, white is winning. White is winning. Okay.
And this has happened. Oh.
Should we catch the last couple of minutes of the time scramble
Yeah.
in the room?
Yeah, I think... Do you want to take it back over and call in? We're going to go and watch
Just want to see the last couple of minutes of.
time scramble.
Okay, yeah, I'll be back to wrap up later.
Okay.